Hey everybody, I wasn't going to bring my camera out here today, but I figured I should show you the winter garden. I'm going to get some carrots and salad for tonight, and this is the winter garden. It's pretty bare. There isn't very much color, but it's crazy to think that in a few weeks from now this is going to be filled with new crops. But there is still some salad to harvest and carrots, which is what we're doing for our stew tonight, so let me show you. The first things I'm going to harvest is some of our carrots. These carrots were planted last spring, so that's spring of 2021, and grew throughout the summer season, and we're still harvesting carrots from it. Now you can see the patch is starting to look a little bare, but that's okay. These carrots should last us through the rest of the winter until we can plant new carrots in the spring, which will then be ready throughout the summer into next fall. To harvest a carrot, all you do is firmly place your fingers around the stalk of the carrot, so that's where the leaves and the crop meet, and gently pull upwards. It should come out fairly easy from the dirt. So I harvested a few carrots to go into my Instapot, and then I headed over to the salad greens to pick some of those for our salad. And behold, the beautiful kale plants still thriving and looking so good here right in winter. Oh, and my hands are dirty from the carrots, so a good way to clean your hands is just to wipe them on the wet grass. To harvest kale, I used to think that I would hurt the plant, and was there a specific way to do it, to cut it with scissors, or how can you do this? It's very simple. You can just break off a leaf. Yep, just with a snap you can break off a leaf. It's that easy. Now you can go as close to the stalk as possible to get as much of the stem of the leaf, just because it's good for you and you may as well use it up, because if you leave it, it will just end up rotting with the plant or become a part of the stalk. Nothing really happens to it. Next, I'm getting some Swiss chard, which is also still doing so well right into winter. This is a bit more squishy and rubbery around its base, so you'll find that when you're snapping, it's a bit more of a wiggle, twisting, wiggle snap. Also, I'm getting some of these mustards and Pac Choys that are just coming up, and they'll grow throughout the winter season very slowly in the cold here, but still really nice to have handy. Even though they're so little, I can grab a few leaves here to add to our salad. So we've got some purple mustards, green mustards, and a whole variety of Pac Choi. With the Pac Choi, I could pull out the entire Pac Choi or just snap off some leaves, and they snap off really easily. So I brought my salad indoors. Now I'm getting ready to wash it. Now what I would normally do is come and rinse each leaf. I've wondered if it's quicker to fill up the tub with water and just let things soak, but I feel if you don't inspect them one by one, you may miss the eggs that are maybe beneath the leaves, or a little house that a spider has built. So I'm still going to inspect them one by one and give them a rinse over. And just store them in this strainer. Right now I'm using all kinds of containers in the kitchen because I've been doing some Christmas baking, and so all of my bowls are used up. So I'm just going to keep them in this strainer. After a good rinse, a tip I can give you here is to line the base of your sink with a paper towel. This will catch any dirt or debris that washes off from your leaves or crops like the carrots. Especially after some heavy rains, it will probably have a lot of dirt on it, so you're not filling your drains with a bunch of dirt over time. You can also get these scrubbers, or I guess they're called brushes, specifically for washing crops from the garden, which would probably do a quicker job at scrubbing these than my hands would, but hands work just fine. I also rinsed some potatoes. Now we planted some potatoes this summer, and I'm using some of the smaller potatoes in this roast. So I washed them off because we stored them under our counter with their dirt on after they cured, so they could use a good wash. I went ahead and made some beef broth. I don't have any on hand yet. I still gotta learn how to make my own beef broth. I started chopping some of my vegetables. I'm doing this by hand instead of using a food processor, which would be much quicker. But keep in mind that all these vegetables will go into the Instapot, which acts as a pressure cooker, so it does cook these vegetables really well, and you don't want to cut them too small because then they'll just be entirely mush. It will take some time to figure out what size you want your vegetables for whatever your cooking will be in your Instapot. Normally I just err on the side of kind of large-ish. Normally I just go for kind of on the larger size than I would normally dice something. But to be honest, I'm also trialing it with every recipe, and then when we're eating the vegetables, I'll know that next time I should cut them larger or smaller depending on what I was making, and so you learn. Grab a few cloves of garlic and take off the skins. An easy way to do this is just to turn your knife sideways and kind of bang it with your other fist. That'll crush the garlic and release some of its aroma, which is great for when you're cooking with garlic. And it will also very easily peel it for you. The first thing I added to the pot was the meat, which is just a chunk of roast that I got from a box of meat that we order from the store. We buy our meat in bulk. It's cheaper that way, and the winter pack comes with a bunch of roasts. So this is just a beef pot roast, and the first thing you're going to want to do is saute all the edges. The way you do this with the Instapot easily is add some olive oil to the pot and press the saute button, which is doing the same thing as if you were to brown the meat in a pan on your stove, just on kind of high heat, searing the edges, browning them up. And what this is meant to do is create kind of a layer around your meat that will hold in the flavor as it's cooking. I believe this also makes your meat kind of flavorful and also helps it to not dry out in its cooking process. So this is well worth doing. Do take some time to saute all the edges. Once you've browned all the sides of your meat, you can remove it from the Instapot and add in your diced vegetables. This will give the vegetables a chance to fry a little bit in that meat flavor that just burned, well, not really burnt, but kind of cooked to the base of that pot. Same thing if you were doing this on a stove top. Whatever pan you use to brown up your meat, add your vegetables to that pan now and let them kind of cook in that flavor with a little bit more oil if you think it's necessary. Now while the vegetables were sauteing in the pot, I remembered that I had some celery in the fridge to use up, so I went and grabbed that, rinsed it off, and sliced them into, you'll see, kind of bigger chunks because celery is much less hard than a carrot would be, so I can make my chunks a bit bigger because I don't want them to be super mushy when they come out of the Instapot. After a few minutes, go back to your vegetables, give them a stir just to make sure nothing's burning. And when you think the vegetables had a good initial cook in all of that good flavor of the meat, you can make room to put your roast back into your pot. Next, add your garlic and any other things you're going to add to this roast. I added those small tomatoes that I washed earlier. I threw in a whole carrot just to test and see how would it hold up in about a few minutes of cooking in this pot. Finally, pour over your beef broth mix. And close it up. Now, luckily, just before I set the timer, I remembered that I had some rosemary to add. So I added the rosemary and sealed it back up and set my timer for 45 minutes. Before you start with this process, I would recommend that you weigh your pot roast if you don't know how much it weighs roughly. Just because for cooking time later, you'll want to know how long it needs to be in the Instant Pot for. The recommendation is about 15 to 20 minutes a pound. My pot roast is about 3 pounds, so I'll put it in for 45 minutes to an hour. While my roast is being cooked by this wonderful Instant Pot, I can go ahead and prepare the rest of the salad. It's really quite simple. I layer my leaves on top of each other and try to form kind of a square base that I can cut easily. I fold in and I kind of tuck in the long pieces until I have kind of a leaf log that would be easy to cut, and then I just slice little thin strips of leaves. Once I've made it all the way through, I give another few cuts in the opposite direction. That way everything is kind of just these thin little salad leaves that you would normally buy from the store. Now the nice thing about a salad is you can add anything that you have left over in your fridge. I had some mushrooms to use up, so I added those in. I could have added them to the stew as well, but I like them kind of with some texture still. I also have some tangerines that are getting close to their expiry date, so I peeled them and cut them up and added them. I love having a little bit of extra fruitiness to my salad, so it's not just all leafy vegetables. I've also added things like a pomegranate, feta cheese, peppers, tomatoes, whatever you've got on hand. That's the great thing about a salad, is there isn't really a specific list of things that you need to add. You can add whatever you have in your fridge that needs to be used, or that you've purchased from the store that you're feeling would taste yummy with your salad that night. Now I had a pomegranate on hand, so I sliced it in half and then kind of broke it apart to break loose those little seeds and rubbed the rest of them out with my fingers. And then I just tossed the salad. Now it's just as easy to make your own salad dressing. I usually peel a garlic clove for this, dice it up as small as you can. And the base of a salad dressing is usually some kind of oil and whatever else to flavor that. For the salad dressing, I'm going to be using olive oil, lemon juice, maple syrup, garlic, and some salt. And then the most important thing is you want to taste it. You're tasting it as you're making it. I'll put a recipe down for some exact quantities that taste all right to me. But while you're making this salad dressing, you really want to be tasting it just to amend it to your taste buds or the flavoring that you like. And next time I'll know to add a little bit more of maple syrup or less lemon juice, whatever your flavor is. Figure it out as you make it, just to try it and taste it. And there you have it. That's how you make a pot roast and a salad from your garden. Now thank you so much for watching. I hope that was inspiring to you and can be helpful to you. Now I usually make 2 new videos every week, trying out a new recipe or figuring out what I can make myself, or some garden tricks, starting seedlings indoors and things like that. So if that is content that interests you, please consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.